further a society drifts from truth, the more it will hate those who speak it. With this quote from George Orwell, I welcome you to another edition of this wonderful program on radio Education Today. Education Today is a program that aims to call the attention of the public as they affect the effective running of the educational system and the achievement of educational goals. This comes on air every Saturday on this station, Light Radio. I am Nima, and with me in the studio is
Aminat KAZEEM.
All right, for your comments, questions, and contributions, you can reach us on Facebook via www.facebook.com/lightradio, on X at The Light Radio, on Instagram, light_radio, on YouTube, Light Radio. You can also call or send a message to us via SMS or WhatsApp on the number 0809738400.
We will go on a quick break. When we return, the program continues. Please stay with us. If you just joined in, you are listening to Education Today on Light Radio. We kick off the news with the news segments with Nima. Nima, how are you doing?
I'm great this afternoon, and how are you too?
I'm good. Thank you.
All right, so hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the news on Education Today, reaching you live from Light Radio. I am Nima Ibrahim. First, the headlines. NUT warns against unchecked commercialization of education in Nigeria. Reps move to address non-implementation of directive to remove universities from IPPs. NBTE boss laments state of technical education in Nigeria. Anambra threatens closure of 2,000 unaccredited schools. Now the details. The leadership of the Nigerian Union of Teachers, NUT, has warned the federal government against what it described as unchecked commercialization of education in Nigeria, as indicated by outrageous school fees and other charges across the country. The union expressed concerns that the underfunding and general neglect of public primary and secondary schools, giving room for private providers to set high school fees, is gradually putting education out of reach of poor parents and the less privileged in the society. NUT National President Comrade Audu Titus Amba spoke on Thursday in Abuja during a one-day capacity building workshop for state chairmen and secretaries of the union, organized by the NUT in partnership with Education International (EI) and Frederick Ebert Stiftung (FES) under the framework of the Global Response to Privatization and Commercialization of Education project. The event also witnessed the formal launch of the Go Public Fund Education campaign in Nigeria, a global call for adequate funding of education and the teaching profession to ensure the provision of quality public education for all. Lastly, Amber called on the federal government to invest more in education by increasing education financing to meet the internationally recommended benchmarks of 6% of gross domestic product, GDP, and 20% of the national budget. The House of Representatives has vowed to take necessary steps in order to address the challenge arising from the non-implementation of presidential directives to remove universities and other tertiary institutions from IPs. According to the news agency of Nigeria, Honorable Abubakar Fulata, Chairman House of Representatives Committee on University Education, made this known when the committee met with the Conference of Vice Chancellor in Abuja on Wednesday. Fulata said the committee is determined to tackle any issue that would affect the smooth running of the universities across the country. He also noted that President Bola Tinubu had listened to them and approved the removal of universities and other tertiary institutions from IPACE. The Executive Secretary of the National Board for Technical Education (NBTE), Professor Idris Bugaje, has painted a gloomy picture of technical colleges in Nigeria while calling on the government at all levels to invest more on technical and vocational education and training (TVET). Bugaje spoke at a workshop on strategies for the implementation of Nigerian Skills Qualification Framework (NSQF) in colleges of education technical, held in Abuja at the headquarters of the National Commission for Colleges of Education (NCCE). According to him, skills are what are driving education in the world, adding that such have become very important in today's economy, and any education that wants to remain relevant must imbibe skills development. Also, he asserted that in the next 20 years, university education would become irrelevant unless there is a paradigm shift towards skills, adding that this is already happening in some countries of the world. And lastly, while revealing the condition of technical colleges in Nigeria, Bugaje disclosed that of all the 129 federal technical colleges, none is worthy of accreditation as they failed the exercise because they lack qualified instructors, equipment, infrastructures, and several others. The federal government has directed the exclusion of third-party research grant funds for federal universities and research institutions from the Treasury Single Account (TSA). This was revealed in a letter signed by the Acting Executive Secretary of the National Universities Commission (NUC), Chris Mayaki, addressed to Vice Chancellors. The letter, dated September 6, 2024, was shared with newsmen in Abuja on Monday. According to Mayaki, the Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, conveyed the President's directive to the Coordinating Minister of Finance and National Economy, Wale Edun, instructing the exemption. The directive is also set to grant universities and research institutions the autonomy to manage their endowment fund accounts in commercial banks, a move expected to enhance their financial independence and promote research and innovation in Nigeria. As primary and secondary schools set to resume for first-term academic activities across Anambra State on September 17, the state government has vowed to sanction no fewer than 2,000 unaccredited schools operating in the state. The State Commissioner for Information, Sir Paul Nwosu, in a press statement on Thursday stated that the affected schools risked closure if the operators did not obtain the necessary approvals and accreditation. Nwosu said the schools were discovered to be opening illegally across the 21 local government areas of the state during the state's recent evaluation of accredited schools. Similarly, Nwosu noted that the state government has directed all the affected schools whose names are listed should obtain the requirements for proper accreditation and registration from the Anambra State Ministry of Education and take immediate steps to comply before the resumption of schools, as failure to do this will attract dire sanctions and risk of closure. Recall that the State Commissioner for Education, Professor Ngozi Chuma Ude, had last week warned parents in the state to enroll their children at only government-approved schools, vowing that they would be liable as accomplices in prosecution failure to do so. That's the news. But before we go, another look at the top stories. NUT warns against unchecked commercialization of education in Nigeria. The leadership of the Reps move to address non-implementation of directive to remove universities from IPPs. NBTE boss laments state of technical education in Nigeria. Anambra threatens closure of 2,000 unaccredited schools. And that's all for the news. Do not forget, for the coverage of your educational programs, fairs, among others, you can call us on 0809-738-4000 or you send us an email via educationmediaservices@gmail.com. We'll go for a quick break, and when we return, the program continues. Please stay with us.
That's all we can take on the news for today. Right now, we'll take the Did You Know segment by Nima Ibrahim. Nima, welcome back.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the Did You Know segment of Education Today, where we consider random ideas, thoughts, personalities, events, concepts, and celebrations that many people are unaware of. And the objective of this segment is to broaden our horizon and increase our base knowledge of things around us beyond what is taught in schools and the four walls of the classroom. I remain Nima Ibrahim, and today we will be taking a look at the Taj Mahal on this segment. Come with me. Now, the Taj Mahal is a majestic white marble mausoleum located in Agra, India, built by Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan in memory of his beloved wife, Mumtaz Mahal, who died in 1631. And here are some fascinating facts about this wonder called Taj Mahal. Did you know that the Taj Mahal is a symbol of love, which represents eternal love and is considered to be one of the most romantic buildings in the world? Also, did you know that it combines the Indian, Persian, and Islamic styles with intricate marble inlays, calligraphy, and ornate decorations as part of the designs? Also, did you know that Taj Mahal was built for over 22 years, that is within the years 1632 and 1653, by 20,000 workers and with thousands of tons of marble and precious stones? Wow, that's amazing if you ask me. Also, did you know that, talking about the design, the Taj Mahal is perfectly symmetrical with four identical facades, a large central dome, and four smaller ones? I bet you didn't. Also, did you know that the Taj Mahal is surrounded by beautiful Charbagh gardens with walking paths, fountains, and ornamental trees? Also, in terms of the marbles made with Taj Mahal, they are made from white Makrana marble, brought from Rajasthan, with intricate inlays of precious stones like jasper, jade, and turquoise. Also, the calligraphy features passages from the Quran and written in beautiful handwritings you've never seen before. Also, The Taj Mahal consists of the Mumtaz Mahal and Shah Jahan, that is the couples, the king and his wife, buried in a lower level and surrounded by ornate marble screens. Also, did you know that in 1983, the UNESCO World Heritage Site designated it in 1983 and recognized its cultural and historical significance? So that means that the Taj Mahal is just not a beautiful or magnificent building. It has been officially recognized by the UNESCO World Heritage. And also, the Taj Mahal attracts millions of visitors each year, making it one of India's most popular tourist destinations. I bet if you get a chance to be in India right now, you definitely want to check the Taj Mahal out. Now, that is what we do on Did You Know? So, to conclude, the Taj Mahal's beauty, history, and the romantic story around it will continue to captivate people worldwide, thereby making it an iconic symbol of love and architecture. Now you know. And that's all on the Did You Know segment for this week. I'm still Nima Ibrahim, and Education Today continues shortly. Please stay with us. Welcome back. That was the Did You Know segment, and right now we are taking the International Day segment with my humble co-host Amina. Amina, are you ready?
Is marked by the United Nations to commemorate different aspects of our lives as global citizens. I am Aminat Karim, and today we'll be considering the International Literacy Day as our International Day. Since 1967, the annual celebrations of International Literacy Day, ILD, have been taking place on 8th September around the world to remind policymakers, practitioners, and the public of the critical importance of literacy for creating more literate, just, peaceful, and sustainable society. Literacy is a fundamental human right for all. It opens the door to the enjoyment of other human rights, greater freedoms, and global citizenship. Literacy is a foundation for people to acquire broader knowledge, skills, values, attitudes, and behavior to foster a culture of lasting peace based on respect for equality and non-discrimination, the rule of law, solidarity, justice, diversity, and tolerance to build harmonious relations with oneself, other people, and the planet. In 2022, however, at least 1 out of 7 adults aged 15 and above, that is 754 million, lacked basic literacy skills. Additionally, millions of people are struggling to acquire minimum levels of proficiency in reading, writing, and numeracy, while some 250 million children of 16 to 18 years old are out of school. This year, the ILD was celebrated under the theme of promoting multilingual education, literacy for mutual understanding and peace. There is a pressing need to harness the transformative potential of literacy for promoting mutual understanding, social cohesion, and peace. In today's world, in which multilingualism is a common practice for many, empowering people by adopting a first language-based multilingual approach to literacy development and education is particularly effective for its cognitive, pedagogical, and socio-economic benefits, such as an approach can help promote mutual understanding and respect, while solidifying communal identities, and collective histories. The benefits of multilingual education are well documented and evidenced by research. When children are offered education in their household language, more of them attend schools. Girls from rural areas stay in education longer, and all children acquire better thinking skills. Multilingual education also supports intercultural dialogue, social cohesion, and peace. For language is a passport to communication with others. It connects us across cultures. It opens us to new ways of perceiving and interpreting the world. It strengthens understanding within and between peoples. ILD 2024 unpacked issues related to literacy in multilingual context for achieving lasting peace and explore possible solutions for enhancing policies, lifelong learning systems, governance, programs, and practices. ILD 2024 was celebrated in person and online at the global, regional, national, and local levels. And that's it on the International Day segment. I am Aminat Karim. Education Today continues in a moment. Please stay with us. Thank you.
Iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe, tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n wá tún fọ́lé. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, lẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe, tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n wá tún fọ́lé. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, lẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, lẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa.
Hello? With me. The program is Education Today on Lights Radio, and we are moving into the discuss segments. And today we are considering the role of state government in Nigerian education. The role of state government in Nigerian education, like when schools resumed on Monday, 9th September 2024, they decided. Well, yeah, me, momo. You know, Lenny can keep talking just to confirm. Everything has gone silent now.
What about now? Can you hear us?
Please talk, please talk, please talk.
bàtà mi á dùn kó ká. Tó o bá kàwé rẹ̀, bàtà rẹ̀ á dùn kó ká. Tá a bá kàwé wa, bàtà wa á dùn kó ká.
Welcome back, and you're still very much on to Education Today on Light Radio, and right now we are moving into the discourse proper. And today we are discussing the role of state governments in Nigerian education. So on Monday, 9th September 2024, primary and secondary schools across the Federation resumed for the 2024-2025 academic session. However, some states postponed resumption, citing worsening economic conditions occasioned by the increments in fuel price, which led to increase in transport costs and those of basic commodities for school and general survival. In addition, many states have failed to access UBE funds because of their refusal to provide counterpart funding to improve basic education in the country. And this has worsened the population of out-of-school children in the country, as a matter of fact, taking us to the #1 position in the world. On the program today, we want to examine the role of state governments in Nigerian education. And joining us on the program, we have joining us virtually on the program today, we have an educational administrator. He's a lecturer, a researcher, an educational consultant, and our in-house analyst. We're talking about no other than Mr. OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Good afternoon, Mr. KAZEEM. All right, so thank you for joining us virtually. And before moving into the discuss proper, do not forget that you can be part of the discuss by sending your comments and questions to 0809-738-4000, or you can drop your comments via the live video feeds on Facebook and YouTube.
Before moving to the discuss properly, a short quiz question. On what day is the International Literacy Day commemorated? Send your answer to the WhatsApp.
Education is that in terms of structure, it is a shared responsibility among the different tiers of government.
Okay.
Tiers of government, I mean the federal government, the state, and the local government. So, by constitution, education is placed on what we call the concurrent legislative list. By this, we imply that both the federal government and the state government, they can legislate, they can make laws, and they can, they exercise a level of control when it comes to education. And by the time we extend that to what we call the National Policy on Education, that is the guideline for educational, practice in Nigeria. The role of the federal government, the state government, and the local government are properly outlined in that policy. And the latest edition is still the 2013 edition, which is the 6th edition of that document. And it states the role of all these levels of government. So the states have a role to play. See, it's a shared thing. In Nigeria, we have the federal government, we have the state, and we have the local government. So, in terms of educational, control now, the state also exercise a level of authority, and there are so many things, as actually stated in the policy. If we go to the National Policy on Education, Section 9, Article 139, it states the function of the state government, and this function is exercised by the State Ministry of Education and its own agencies. Just like the federal government's role is undertaken by the federal government through the Federal Ministry of Education and its agencies. So the same goes for the state. So they all have their role to play. Ditto the local government.
All right. So now with your response, I get that there's an understanding that education should be the business of everyone, all stakeholders, and there should be synergy between, all the different tiers and levels of government. All right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks so much, Mr. KAZEEM, for that. So the next question is, how do state governments contribute to education development in Nigeria? Like, how did it really contribute to the education sector in Nigeria?
Okay. Let me begin this way, so that we will not just be playing around. officially from the National Policy on Education. Let me just read out some of the rules of the state government. They are in charge of policy control over early childhood care and development.
Okay.
What we call the pre-primary education. They are also responsible for basic and secondary education in terms of exercising authority, establishing them and running, those levels of education. Then again, they also establish and come up with policies relating to tertiary institutions that are owned by the state. So that is that. They also contribute in terms of policy making. The National Policy on Education itself is a joint responsibility in terms of its production and the content. It's a joint responsibility between the state and the federal government. Apart from that is they also undertake what we call inspectorate services, monitoring what is going on in the schools within their jurisdiction. So they supervise them for quality, just to ensure that there is quality. So quality assurance is there. But they also develop and maintain the state education management information system, a database of the students, the teachers, the staff, the institutions, and everything. So they maintain a database for the educational system within the state.
Okay.
So they also come up with laws, and apart from that, they also conduct examination and tests for primary and secondary education. So with this, they do that, and they also work with this local government when it comes to the area of basic education. And that's why we have what we call State Universal Basic Education Board.
Superb. Okay.
So they also do that. So they also come up with their own budget. They come up with their budget annually, and they allocate to education, and they implement the budgets like that. So, and because they are also in charge of land, so they also try to make land available. If federal government wants to establish any institution, it has to go through the state government. So the state government will have to provide the land.
All right.
The federal government
is
able to do that. And in terms of infrastructure, recruitment of teachers, curriculum implementation, and others like that. That is, and also engage with the community, because a school cannot exist in isolation. So they also do that. So those are that's the general outlook of the role the state government play when it comes to education.
Okay, so thank you.
Thanks
From your
so much.
response, I get that, they are in charge of the pre-primary education, coming up with the budgets of their own and supervising, looking out for quality in the education they give out. So my question now is, do they have challenges at all in fulfilling these responsibilities of theirs in providing quality education basically in Nigeria? Do state governments encounter any challenges? And if yes, please briefly highlight some of the challenges for us.
Yeah, actually, there is no system in this world that does not have its own challenge.
Okay.
So the educational system in the state also face a whole lot of challenges. Apart from the challenges of funding, which is usually the general problem that everybody complains of. Everyone always complains of inadequate funding. But in terms of education, what actually happens is that a lot of these states, they don't allocate enough funds to education.
Okay,
So
insufficient
funding.
funding.
And even the funds that are allocated, we also have the challenge of judicious implementation of the budget to ensure that the money that is allocated is actually spent the way they have already been designed. One of that is also that of inadequate teachers. There are so many public schools that they do not have enough teachers to actually meet or cater for the needs of the teeming population of people that actually want to enroll in primary, public schools, basically. Then again, it's also that of infrastructure. Because the truth of the matter is, a lot of Nigerian citizens have actually lost confidence and trust in the capacity of the state to provide public education. Public education that is of high quality,
free,
and in terms of quantity, that is also
free,
not necessarily even free, at least affordable.
Okay.
Considering the standard of living
of
and
the
the cost
people.
of living. A lot of people, their level of income. So, fortunately, if the state is, public schools, they are properly funded, they are properly structured, you have adequate teachers. A lot of people that are now patronizing private schools would have gone to the public school. But because the public schools are not in good shape, that's why a lot of people are taking their children away.
Even the public servants cannot boast of what they will get in public schools.
Yeah, so that's a very big challenge. For primary schools, there are some states in Nigeria now that they have failed to provide what we call matching grants for basic education. The government already established a fund, UBE fund, a basic education fund. And the federal government provides an amount of money annually for that, into that fund.
So the states are supposed to provide their own matching grant, their own counterpart money, so that by the time they drop it there, they can now access the whole money as a whole. The one the state has provided, and the one the federal government has provided, they can use it together to tackle the challenge of out-of-school children, the infrastructure in public schools, to recruit adequate teachers. But because they have failed to provide matching grants, they cannot access it. There are some states that the money for UBE, but their state has been there for almost 10 years and they cannot access it. And yet they complain that they don't have enough money to spend for public education. No, it's just ridiculous. How are you doing this? You have this money there, lying follow. Provide your own counterpart funding so that you can access it. Because of them can, do that. So there are numerous challenges that are facing, states, ministries of education or the state government when it comes to, provision of quality education for the citizens. But I think for a lot of it, it's because of the lack of political will on the part of the political leaders and some civil servant administrators who are in charge. Because we also talk about corruption. That's also a very big challenge. And that's why a whole lot of these funds, they are not judiciously spent. And some of this, infrastructure they provide, they don't stand the test of time because they are not of high quality.
Okay,
a lot of the money that should have ensured the quality have been diverted. So those are some of the challenges.
Okay, sir. Thanks so much. Because there is in every part, like everything we're doing, like there is always a challenges, one challenges or the other. And we've already stated some challenges related to how state governments can do this concerning education system. So now the question is, what do state governments support? How do they support tertiary education, universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education in Nigeria? What support can they give to this? Can they give to the universities, polytechnics, and colleges?
I get you. First is that there are different levels of support they can provide.
Okay.
First is actually that of legislation and establishment of these institutions. Okay. There are some states now, they have state universities, state college of education, and state polytechnics. Now, in some cases, there are some that probably in the name of trying to probably appease to, some sentiment, to appeal to some sentiment, they just convert, like in the case of Lagos State now, the state no longer has a polytechnic and a college of education. Everything has been, so to say, upgraded to a degree awarding institution. So now everything is just university. That's a challenge of its own. So, in terms of the establishment of the institution, that's a role. Beyond that is recruitment and training of quality staff in the right quantity for this institution is another thing that they can do for tertiary education. Okay. But if you look at the teacher-student ratio, the lecturer-student ratio in our tertiary institution, you will see that that's a very, very big challenge. And ordinarily, this is something that they can do. But a lot of them, they are not doing that appropriately. Another thing we need to also look at is the cost of education. A lot of these state schools are very, very expensive. So that's an issue for the teeming citizen. They would have loved that we have tertiary institutions that are at least affordable for the citizens. That's an issue. Beyond that, you also talk about the fact that some of these institutions, beyond just the case of affordability, they would expect that there should be scholarships and bursaries for the students, especially those that are indigenous of such a state. So, and that is something that a lot of states really need to work on. Although for Lagos State, I'll give them a whole lot of kudos. They have been trying in that regard. So that all the maintenance of that scholarship is something that they really need to work on. Then the era of Governor Babatunde Fashola, that was something that a whole lot of the citizens benefited immensely. Scholarships and bursary. Bursary should be meant for all the indigenous of the state that are in such institutions. They should be open to it. While scholarship will be for those that are excel,
that are merited,
excellently in their studies, so that they maintain a particular level of academic performance. For instance, they will tell you that you must, be from 3.5 and above out of the GP of 5.00. So that's upper class and first class. So those in that category, they are, they have the opportunity of getting scholarship. So those are some things, and that's why that Nance is even saying today that what the Nigerian citizens need is scholarship and not student loan. things like that. So those are some of the things that states can do, at least so relieve the burden on the federal government, because everybody is just talking about federal government. A lot of these states have a role to play.
Yes, we forget about them.
Internet generated funds, they get federal allocation every month. Some of them also get some of these other funds, ecological fund, some of these special grants and the likes like that. So whether exactly they spending is another question. So therefore, them, these states, they have a lot of role to play. By the time you do that for tertiary education, so you would be increasing the number of graduates that Nigeria is able to produce annually. Then again is you cannot deploy them in appropriate areas so that we can actually salvage the economy of Nigeria. So the states have a whole lot of role to play. If truly they understand that and they are willing to do the needful. So so many institutions that a lot of Nigerians travel abroad in the US, in the UK. Some of those schools are actually state schools, and they provide scholarship free of charge for some of these Nigerians. If you can prove your academic performance, you can prove to be excellent in your academics, then you will be open or you have the opportunity to benefit from some of this stuff. So I don't think there is anything wrong in our states also doing that.
Okay. Well, you've said it all, because most times we only focus on the apex level of government, that's the federal government. Most of the time we forget that even the lower levels, the state and the local governments also have a role to play in, giving us the education quality and system that we truly yearn for and deserve in this country. Okay, so that takes me to my next question. Apart from the support that these state governments can give the tertiary education, talking about universities, police, and colleges of education, has there been any time that the state government, from the east to the west, have there been any time that they actually bring up initiatives and they were able to implement these initiatives to improve, the teacher training and development in Nigeria?
Well, a whole lot of them have been doing, fantastically in different areas that you can think of. For instance, in terms of university education in Nigeria today, Lagos State government has been doing, very, very well.
Yes.
So, some might say that different states that are also doing very, very well. But I know of Lagos very well because apart from being an indigenous, I also live, and work in Lagos, so I can say a lot about Lagos. So, in terms of university education, Lagos State has done creditably well. So, in terms of the standard of at least a level of infrastructure, in terms of medical training at Lagos State University College of Medicine, they've done quite well. They have trained a whole lot of people in terms of facility that they provided. It's top notch. In terms of some things that they provide, they can actually compete favorably with many federal government institutions in Nigeria of today. I can make bold of Lagos State University in that regard. But there are some courses that they have excelled in terms of medical training, in terms of law. They have done creditably well, and it's something that we really need to commend them for. There are some other states. We talk about let's say a state like Ogun State now. Ogun State has many institutions, but not been able to properly maintain them. That's a problem. But look at Ekiti State. Ekiti State also has many institutions. To some extent, it's trying to maintain them. That's something that we also need to commend them for. So there are some states like that, one way or the other. In some areas, they are doing some courses, they are doing well. In terms of probably in terms of technical education, they are doing well and things like that. But the only thing is, they will probably do well in some areas and will be probably lacking in some other areas. So then, what we can only do is to probably encourage them to do more in those areas that they are doing well, and call them, to action in those areas where they have challenges or where probably people are not getting the best of service actually from them. Now, as much as Lagos State government has done a lot in terms of technical education in this thing, especially for the maintenance, the establishment and maintenance of vocational and technical training institutions that are intermediate levels of education between secondary and tertiary. But then you now look at it, a state that has done so well in terms of that, and has done well in terms of the way it was able to run 2 colleges of education, State College of Education, and 1 polytechnic, the last Potech, Lagos State Polytechnic then, and I did not College of Education, as well as Michael Federal College of Primary Education. Now, these 2 institutions now have been fused together into Lagos State University of Education. The implication you're saying is that probably you don't need college education in terms of probably teacher training, and that's something that probably is a lot of people would argue against. Or probably talk about polytechnic. It's not everybody that will probably even have the qualification to actually go to a university directly. So or probably some of them that actually attended these polytechnics, they work as technicians, as lab attendants and lab instructors and things like that. But a lot of people now, by the time they study engineering, they'll tell you, I cannot be a lab attendant, I cannot be a lab instructor, I think I'm an engineer and things like that. So, and there will be no one to actually give that or provide that practical training for some of these students that are probably studying engineering in the university. So these are some of the things that I just feel like I just need to point out. Like Lagos State. Other states, I might not be able to say much about them.
All right, Lagos State is indeed, doing well in this aspect.
Very well.
Yes,
They're really,
we give it
trying.
to them. Yes,
trying.
And we hope that other states that are not doing as much would take a cue from the states that are performing, and for the betterment of Nigerians as a country.
Yeah. Okay, thanks so much. Thanks. We really, really appreciate this response you just gave. Now you've made justice to the question. So the question is that knowing the initiative that the state's governments implemented to improve teachers' training, and what strategies did you think the state government employed to address educational disparities and inequalities?
Yes, quickly.
So just a quick one, please.
That is something that a whole lot of states really need to work on. First, we'll talk about educational disparities and inequalities. Although for some states they have tried a lot in the sense that fund or money, purchasing power is not a determinant of your access to education. And that's why, especially at the lower level, education is expected to be free. Basic education is expected to be free.
Yes.
But some of these states are still not running that efficiently. Even secondary education, a lot of these states are not doing that efficiently. But if you give that, you'll be able to actually bridge the gap between the rich and the poor, because education is a leveler. Education is a leveler. It's a way of bridging the gap between the rich and the poor, between the haves and the have-nots. So by the time you deny people access to education, probably because they don't have money to send their children to private schools, and because boarding schools are nowhere to be found, then that's a very big problem. So in bridging this gap now, these disparities, first is states need to establish more schools, especially in underserved areas, in the rural areas, in the hard-to-reach areas, riverine communities, so that they will not have to travel long distance before they have access to school. Because a lot of the insecurity, water, and cost of transportation, a lot of people are unable to go to school, so they just stay back home. That is denying them. And we talk about the fact that Nigeria has the highest, the population has the highest population of out-of-school children in the world. That's, in fact, that's criminal. For a nation that is actually facing insecurity, insurgency, militancy, then you don't need more people to be out of school, because those are waiting, ready-made materials for these, criminal elements to exploit, to join their ranks. So in doing this, they need to establish more schools. They need to maintain them properly. Then they also need to encourage even people from, poor backgrounds in terms of provision of some other amenities, uniforms, school bags, some other essentials, providing free textbooks in schools, ensuring that the schools are properly, kept, they have the right infrastructure, they also have the right number of teachers. By the time you do this, see, a lot of people would embrace education, and they can actually drop or abandon some of these barbaric beliefs or some of these criminal practices that they actually took up probably just as a means of survival. By the time you are educated, you know the value of education, you know the value of human life, you know the value of actually keeping yourself, and the fact that there is hope for you so far you are educated. So this is something that we really need to, tell the state government that they really need to work on. So that at the end of the day, we'll have a brighter future for all Nigerian citizens, regardless of their economic or social status.
All right. So rounding up, I'd like to ask this last question. So, there's one thing to have strategies in place, and there's another thing to actually provide, the things needed, the facilities, the amenities, the materials, the teachers, the personnel needed. Now, my question is, how do government ensure that this, after providing all of this, we still have quality education? How do they monitor and evaluate the quality of the education that is given in these schools, even after providing the requirements?
All right, thank you very much. And that's why every state is supposed to have what we call the Office of Education Quality Assurance.
Okay.
You see, inspection, supervision, quality assurance mechanism is something that is very, very vital for any educational system to achieve its goals and objectives. The reality is, it's not enough for you to say you have put people there. If you don't monitor them, people tend to misbehave. Even for those that have been empowered, they tend to misuse the powers and the opportunities that they have. So it is inspection, it is supervision that will actually bring out, the best out of this, that will ensure that the right things are being done. And at the same time, if there are accountability, and I think for state government, what they also need to do is actually set key performance, indicators for each school, set performance standards, so that at the end of the day, if they're able to meet up, there is a reward for it. There was a time that during the era of Governor Pasha, what we call the ECO project. So there are exams that are set for these students, baseline tests. If you pass the test based on the percentage, on the number of students that you have in your school, and the percentage that they're able to meet, you have performance-based reward system where they provide some things for the school, they bring some things, they equip your labs and things like that because your students are doing well. ECO project was a performance-based funding mechanism that the Lagos State government introduced. After Governor Fashola, that initiative was was discontinued. That is something that a whole lot of states needs to do. You have all these inspectors. It should not be about brown envelopes. Civil servants, we have problems. Everyone is looking at what can I take for myself, what can I take for myself. And that's why I will continue to tell state government. When people are properly paid, when they're adequately remunerated, they'll do their work. So they'll do their work without looking at anyone's face. If you know that I'm well to do on my own, it is not 5,000 or 10,000 that a particular school will give me that will make me write positive reports about them. When I know that it is the factual report that I present that will determine if at all government needs to take action about the quality of education in that school. And if I write a negative, a false report, it gives a false impression to the government, and then they will not be able to take the right kinds of action. But in our civil service today, it is you who complain or write, report or you petition that actually get victimized out of service, and that is something that the states really need to look at very, very well. It is important that we know that it's not just about us, but about the future of this particular country that we call as. There's no other country that we can call our own other than Nigeria. I don't have any other passport other than Nigerian passport.
It's the green card and the green card only. All right, thank you very much, Mr. KAZEEM, and that's all we can take on the discuss segment for today. We'd like to appreciate our guest, Mr. OLUBUNMI KAZEEM, for the beautiful insights he has provided on today's discourse. And Mr. KAZEEM, thank you very much for being able to join us virtually for this edition. Thank you for coming through for us.
Thanks so much. Thank you. We really appreciate the efforts. Thanks so much.
Those in government, the state government, let them do the right thing for our educational system to improve.
We hope so too. All right, so we'll go on a quick break, and when we return, the program continues. Please don't go nowhere.
Ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ́, ẹ̀kọ́ dára púpọ̀. Ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ́, ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga, ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, tẹ́ bá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga, ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, tẹ́ bá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, tẹ́ bá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa.
Welcome back, and you're welcome to the Words on the Marble segment of Education Today, where we take a look at memorable quotes that are educational as well as inspirational to everyone. And today we have a quote from the UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. And according to Kofi, Literacy unlocks the door to learning throughout life, is essential to development and health, and opens the way for democratic participation and active citizenship. And that's our words on the marble for today. It is worthy of mention that we must make concerted effort to educate the citizens, in a bid to reduce ignorance and sensitize the citizens pertaining their rights and duties to the country. And do we have a winner? Is there anyone that is fast and furious? Or all right, so we do not have any winner for the question. And the answer to the question is drum rolling. The International Literacy Day is commemorated every September 8th. It's commemorated on September 8th every year. And this is to inform you, our esteemed listeners, that you can advertise your products and services and also showcase your events on our program. You can do this by calling the numbers 0702-507-4268. Thank you very much for how you feel about today's program through our Facebook platform /education today. You can also send an email to educationmediaservices@gmail.com. I'd like to give a shout out to Mr. Ayub, Zainab Jima, Zuleika Dukaya, Zainab Alabi, Mr. Nurudi, Mr. Abdulatif, Olamilekon, Tobiloba. Thank you all, and the many others that that were able to join us on the program for today. Thank you. We appreciate your constant support and encouragement. Also, many thanks to the entire crew of Education Today and the management of Light Radio. The supervising producer has been Aisha. Thank you, Aisha. We see what you're doing. So do join us same time next week on this station. I still am Nima Ibrahim, and with me in the studio has been
Aminat Karim.
See you next week, and goodbye.
Goodbye.